After the Shibuya incident, Japan is in chaos. Satoru Gojo is sealed. Thousands of civilians are dead, and the man responsible, Kenjaku, activates his long-planned ritual. This ritual is called the CullingGame. Kenjaku creates multiple barrier colonies across Japan. Anyone inside a colony becomes a player. Leaving without permission results in death. The core rules. Killing another player gives points. Refusing to gain points results in death. Rules can be added only by spending points. The game does not end until Kenjaku decides this is not a tournament. It is forced participation. Kenjaku's goal. Kenjaku is not trying to find the strongest sorcerer. His real goal is to force human evolution. He awakens. Dormant sorcerers. Reincarnated ancient sorcerers. Civilians with cursed techniques. By forcing them to fight, Kenjaku pushes cursed energy output to its limits. The CullingGame is a filter. Only those who adapt survive. Yuji Itadori enters the game. Yuji enters the CullingGame with one goal: change the rules to save innocent people. But the moment he enters the Tokyo colony, Yuji realizes something terrifying. There is no safe path. Everyone inside is either killing to survive or being hunted. Yuji's first major conflict is with Higuruma Hiromi. Higuruma is a former lawyer turned sorcerer. His cursed technique creates a courtroom domain expansion. Inside this domain, Yuji is judged for his crimes. Sukuna's massacre in Shibuya is blamed on Yuji. Yuji does not defend himself. This is critical. Yuji accepts guilt. Because of this, Higuruma confiscates Yuji's cursed energy instead of executing him. Yuji then fights Higuruma without cursed energy and still survives. This fight establishes Yuji's mental strength, the psychological toll of Shibuya, the moral complexity of the CullingGame. Higuruma eventually helps Yuji by agreeing to add a rule allowing players to exit colonies. Megumi Fushiguro. Megumi enters a different Tokyo colony. Unlike Yuji, Megumi makes a decision. He will kill if necessary. This is the first time Megumi truly abandons his previous ideals. Megumi fights multiple players, including Reggie Star, Hazunoki, Remy. Reggie uses a cursed technique based on contracts and receipts, summoning weapons and objects. The fight pushes Megumi to the edge. Megumi uses domain expansion imperfectly, accepts that survival requires killing, fully commits to the CullingGame. This is where Sukuna begins watching Megumi more closely. Yuta enters the Sendai colony. Unlike Yuji and Megumi, Yuta is already special grade. Inside Sendai, he faces Uro Takako, Ryu Ishigori, Kurourushi, a special grade cursed spirit. Why? This matters. This battle proves the new generation has surpassed expectations. The old sorcerers are still terrifying. The CullingGame is producing monsters. Yuta wins. But barely. This is not a power fantasy. It's a warning. Maki Zenin. The massacre outside the CullingGame colonies. Maki Zenin changes everything. After being betrayed by her clan, Maki kills the entire Zenin clan, becomes fully awakened like Toji Fushiguro, enters the CullingGame as a living weapon. Maki represents what happens when humanity is stripped away. She survives, but at the cost of everything. Sukuna's interest in Megumi. Throughout the arc, Sukuna shows increasing interest in Megumi. This is not random. Megumi's technique, 10 Shadows, has the potential to rival Gojo. The CullingGame creates the perfect environment. High cursed energy, emotional breakdown, moral collapse. Sukuna is waiting. Why the CullingGame is terrifying. There is no final boss, no victory screen. Even when Yuji and Megumi succeed in adding rules, the game continues. Kenjaku has already won. Because people are killing. Sorcerers are evolving. Humanity is changing exactly as he planned. The culling game does not ask, who is the strongest? It asks something worse. How much of yourself are you willing to lose to survive? And when survival demands cruelty, who decides when it's gone too far? The Shinjuku Showdown arc is the direct continuation of the culling game. This is no longer preparation. This is the final confrontation. Every major force in JujutsuKaisen converges in Shinjuku, Tokyo, for one reason: to kill Sukuna, and if possible, to stop Kenjaku. At this point in the story, GojoSatoru has been unsealed. Sukuna has fully incarnated using Megumi Fushiguro's body. Kenjaku has completed most of his plan. Japan is effectively collapsing. There is no safety net anymore. This is a war. GojoSatoru returns. The most important event before Shinjuku is Gojo's unsealing. When Gojo returns, the balance of power shifts instantly. Sorcerers regain hope. Sukuna finally gets what he wants: a real fight. Gojo challenges Sukuna directly. No tricks, no delays. They agree to fight in Shinjuku. Gojo vs. Sukuna, the strongest fight. This is the most important fight in the entire series. Phase 1, Domain Battles. Both Gojo and Sukuna activate domain expansion repeatedly. Unlimited Void versus Malevolent Shrine. Domains clash, break, and are rebuilt. Sukuna uses Megumi's 10 Shadows to adapt. Mahoraga is slowly adjusting to Gojo's infinity. This is not a simple power contest. It is strategy at the highest level. Mahoraga. Sukuna's real objective is not to overpower Gojo, it is to adapt. Mahoraga, the ultimate Shikigami of the 10 Shadows technique, begins to understand infinity. Once Mahoraga adapts, Gojo becomes vulnerable. This changes everything. Gojo pushes beyond his limits. Gojo overuses reverse cursed technique, destroys parts of his own brain to reset techniques, continues fighting despite lethal damage. This fight proves one thing clearly: GojoSatoru is not invincible, he is just refusing to fall. The death of GojoSatoru. Sukuna finally lands the decisive blow. Using Mahoraga's adaptation, Sukuna cuts through infinity itself. Gojo is bisected. He dies standing. In the afterlife, Gojo admits something terrifying. Sukuna was stronger. This is the emotional collapse of the series. The strongest sorcerer is gone. The battle does not stop. Gojo's death does not end the fight. It begins the Shinjuku Showdown proper. Now it becomes a relay battle. One sorcerer after another enters the battlefield. Kashimo versus Sukuna. Hajime Kashimo enters next. He unleashes his one-time cursed technique. Pure lightning, no regeneration, no restraint. Kashimo forces Sukuna to reveal more of his true form. But Kashimo is ultimately killed. His role was not victory, it was information. Higuruma, Yuji, and the Executioner's Sword. Yuji returns with Higuruma. Higuruma activates his domain again. This time, Sukuna is put on trial. The Executioner's Sword is created, a weapon that can kill Sukuna instantly. Yuji nearly lands the finishing blow, but Sukuna escapes. Once again, hope is crushed. Maki, Yuta, and the final assault. Now the remaining sorcerers fight together. Maki Zenin, Yuta Okatsu, Yuji Itadori. They coordinate attacks. This is no longer about honor. It is survival. Yuta's domain and Sukuna's pressure. Yuta activates domain expansion. He copies techniques. He pushes Sukuna further, but Sukuna continues adapting. The gap remains. Yuji Itadori. The final weight, Yuji keeps standing back up. No matter how many times he's broken, no matter how many friends die, Yuji does not fight because he believes he can win. He fights because someone has to. This is Yuji's entire arc reaching its peak. This arc is not about spectacle. It is about inevitability. Every system failed. Gojo failed. Jujutsu Society failed. Preparation failed. Now all that remains is human will. The Shinjuku Showdown asks one final question. If even the strongest cannot save the world, what chance does anyone else have? And if victory requires sacrificing everything, what is left worth protecting?